Before I go into all the other things though, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the viewer's choice poll. At this moment it's open to undetermined amount of time, undetermined date. In our channel I put the thing on there that says July 18th is when it's going to close, but that's just really a guesstimate. I have no clue when we're going to be finished with Persona 3. Recording it anyway, but because right now we're about halfway through the first story, the journey is what it's called. Then there's another entirely different story called the answer. I'm not sure how long that one is, but the journey is generally, if you're just going through it without getting everything like I'm planning to do, it's about 120 hours from start to finish. And trying to get everything, it's actually quite a bit longer. But I haven't played through the answer all the way through it, so I don't know how long it is. So not sure when it's going to close. Could be the end of anywhere from the end of July to sometime in October. That's about the best time frame I can give right now. But we have 9 games on it, and I'm just going to go through them alphabetically at this time. And up until the poll closes every week, I'm going to kind of plug in a ad, I'll call it, for the viewer's choice poll. They'll only do it in one video per week in each video series that we're doing, so that I don't overload you guys with useless crap. So I know that there's some walkthrough and let's play makers that do that kind of stuff, and it usually POs me when I see that kind of stuff happening. But let's see, Facebook. The games we have are Alien Breed Impact, and that's a game by Team 17. And it's really, if you think about it, it's kind of like Alien Swarm, if you played it on Steam. That was made by Valve. It's kind of that same concept. It's the top-down, use the mouse to point the gun, 2.5D shooter kind of thing. But basically you play as Conrad, I think a mercenary that's on traveling on a vessel named the Leopold. And as it's going along to its destination, it runs into a phantom ship that it couldn't detect. That seems to be like eons old. And shortly after this, while Conrad's trying to help the AI on board restart the engine so they can pull away from the ship, the Leopold starts to become infested with aliens. And your basic goal for the first game, because this is one of 3 games, is just to try and get the ship functional again so that you can pull away from the massive ship that you crashed into. And while you're fighting off all these aliens coming from seemingly nowhere. The second game is a little interesting because it's not actually really a true game, we'll say. It's a fan-created game for Chrono Trigger. And it basically covers the period of time between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. And when they made this, they wanted to make it so that this game could be viewed as a direct sequel to Chrono Trigger, because it picks up right after Chrono Trigger ends. And it covers what happens in between there to cause the events that happen in Chrono Cross. And I think it's actually a pretty cool idea, because the events that are alluded to in Chrono Cross that have happened in the past are not really that well, I don't want to say developed, but they're not that well covered. They're not explained very well. So by doing this, they're actually connecting the 2 games together, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's also a Chrono Trigger game, so added bonus there. The game's not actually 100% complete. Chrono Compendium, which is where the main development was being done at, got a cease and desist order from Sony. I think it was in 2009, of May or April 2009. So they had to stop working on it, or be faced with legal charges, we'll say. And the game actually had I think it was an earlier alpha version that was leaked shortly after this event happened, and they started their memorial walkthrough for Crimson Echoes. But the version I have now, I got from a link from an unnamed source, so I don't want to get them in trouble. That might be the 98% completed version that the walkthrough that they made is supposedly done with. I'm not sure what the 2% that isn't finished is. There might be like a game stopper bug, which is basically a bug that makes it so that you can't continue at all through the story. Like it corrupts the save point, or it crashes at a battle, like a boss battle that you have to fight. I'm not sure if there's something like that in there. I haven't played through this version at all. I haven't actually even played all the way through the alpha version I got that was released in 2009. But the story it's pretty cohesive. You basically you're playing as Corona, and you're having to deal with some of the fallout from the events from Chrono Trigger. For instance, Pore's negotiating with Grandia to try and get more resources from them, or else they're going to secede from the country and go to war with Grandia. And the Mystics are also raising a stink about the whole situation. But underneath all that, there's some other stuff going on that I'm not going to allude to right yet. You'll be able to see it in the trailer. There should be a link for it on the video right now. Some of that on the trailer, like we get to find out, get to see a character that was left out of Chrono Trigger for whatever reason. We don't really know why this character wasn't in Chrono Trigger, but the story writer for Crimson Echoes makes an actually fairly plausible and interesting scenario as to why he's not in the game. The next game that we have on our list is Dragon Ball Z Budokai. This is just basically one of those fighting action kind of games. There are unlockables and different things you can purchase and different modes to play through, so I would go through all of that. But there's no really cohesive story throughout the whole game, besides the individual character stories. I think this one covers from the Saiyan Saga up to the Cell Saga. I think that's all it covers. I know the later games go up to the Majin Buu Saga, but I think this one only goes up to the Cell Saga. The next game that we have on the list is Final Fantasy Anthologies. I'm not 100% sure on what these games are about because I haven't played them in a while. Anthology is a combination of Final Fantasy 5 and 6 that was released on the PlayStation. I think it's Final Fantasy, I'm going to say 5, is the main story to it is that for some reason there's an imbalance in the elements of nature, and it's wreaking havoc on the planet. And so you form a group to go and find out what's going on at the various elemental shrines, and it's your basic kind of Final Fantasy Save the World story. I think it's similar for Final Fantasy VI. I haven't really played that far into it, so I really don't know and can't remember what it's really about. But I'd be doing both of those games as one project. Or, well, no, I'd do them as separate projects, but they would be one after the other. I wouldn't do them simultaneously. The next one is Grandia. Again, I actually don't own this game. Well, shouldn't say that. I have owned it, but I sold it. I never really got into playing it. I bought it a long time ago. My parents, when they had any control over my gaming habits, forced me to sell it so I could buy something else. But have a ROM for that now. I haven't really, like I said, I haven't really played into it at all, so I don't know what it's really about. That's also on the list. Then there's Gungrave, which is based off of an anime, I think. I'm not sure how closely it follows the anime, but I think it does follow the main story of it. You play as a recently deceased guy named Grave, and there was a company that was doing experiments that brought you back to life, and you escaped from their facilities, and now you want to take revenge on them for disturbing your slumber, and also for, I think, kidnapping a girl of a friend that you knew when you were alive. Daughter of her friend, I mean. But the interesting thing about this game is that it's kind of an old school third-person shooter. You have areas that have a set number of enemies in them, and once you kill off all the enemies, you can go to the next area. What I like about this game is that you actually get to use some pretty interesting weapons, like a coffin and a rocket launcher and things like that. But it's a pretty fun game if we're into action-based shooters. What I mean by that is ones that don't really have I guess all shooters are action-based, but it's got more of an action feel to it than an RPG feel to it. It's not like the same kind of gameplay mechanics as, say, Mass Effect, but you can upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more involved than, say, COD is. The next game is King's Bounty: The Legend, and this is also part of a series of 3 games, and I have all 3 of them. I haven't played all the way through King's Bounty yet, but so far my take on it is that you play as a treasure hunter for a kingdom, and you're basically replacing your predecessor, and your main objective is to find out what happened to your predecessor, and if he was going after a certain treasure, to get that treasure for your kingdom and bring it back to them. And it's a combination kind of an RTS, strategy, role-playing, and action game. Kind of combines all of those aspects together. And the battle mechanics are actually kind of interesting. You get groups of units that you can use on a turn-based kind of style of battle, and the number of units you can use are determined by the amount of leadership you have, and each unit, you can have a specific number of units for that amount of leadership. Again, I haven't really gotten into it yet, so it's about as good as I can explain it. The next game on the list is probably my favorite PC game out of all of these, which is Overlord. And Overlord is it's a crazy, over-the-top, hilarious game where you play as a resurrected evil ruler, and you are drafted by the head minion commander. I forget his name at the moment. Let me see if I can look it up while I'm talking. But you're drafted by this minion commander, and he wants you to go throughout the kingdom and reclaim the territory that was once held by the old overlord. And after the old overlord was defeated by a group of heroes, other evil creatures and evil forces moved in and claimed a lot of the land in the kingdom. But your main goal is to recapture all this land, to replace the evil that's usurped your fiefs with your